The total session will be 45
Okay. Good
minutes to 50
morning, good
minutes. So you
afternoon,
can take
and
35 to 40 minutes, no problem.
good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Happy Bringling. Welcome all of you to Bringle Academy's and Vision Digital India series, Making the Virtual World Alive. And I would like to invite Mr. Upendra, Dr. Upendra Giri from USA, United States, talking about the topic digital future. And I just want to give a little introduction about Dr. Upendra Giri. Dr. Upendra is an international award winning professional, thought leader, enterprise, business agility transformation leader, coach, trainer, mentor, and speaker who is extremely energetic, results driven, cross functional, value functional leader, value realization leader with proven experience in advising and facilitating enterprise in lean and agile transformations. Dr. Upendra has helped PMI establish project management discipline in India and received prestigious Eric Janet Award by PMI for his outstanding contributions to the global portfolio, program and project management in the year 2019, which made him the first Indian and the youngest professional to be bestowed with this honor. Today, Upendra lives in Silicon Valley, California, where he helps small startup organizations to large enterprises move from projects and cost centers to product value streams, from silos and proxy metrics to flow metrics and business results, and from fragmented value streams to integrated value streams network. He is a serial entrepreneur, investor, founder and trustee PMI North India chapter, and is also a charter member of TIE, the Indus Entrepreneurs. Wow, that's such a large, that's a kind of recognition or the work which Dr. Upendra Giri has done. And with this, I would like to request Dr. Upendra Giri to please mention if I have missed anything out of your portfolio, because you've got a really, really vast portfolio out here, and would be glad to hear about your views about digital future.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jain Saab. You had made one mistake though.
Okay.
I'm not a doctor.
So
If
after
I
looking
go,
at your
yeah.
expertise, I actually had to put doctor over there, but I mean, incredible, really.
So, if I put a doctor, then I will have a trouble going back to my village. People will start bringing all sorts of health problems. And, I don't want to be labeled with the doctor, but there are a few IS officers I used to teach, coach, and they will always call me a doctor. And I was like, I'm not a doctor, but, I guess in some ways, when we go deeper into particular matter or subject, that's what it makes you uh, developing your core competence. And my core competence has been execution. Project management is the science and art of getting things done. And that's what I would like to share with most of the people: what worked in past, what is going to work today, and what is the outlook look like in the future. So my concept, which I talk about, is about 4 O's. You know, and it originates from the government of India when they start putting a lot of money in the various infrastructure projects. So it was outlay, right? Outlay is the money we spent, but outlay leads to output, the deliverables. But then it has to impact the life of the people. So it has to be outcome oriented,
Right.
you know. And then outcome, once we stand at that stage when we receive the value, what for the work which we have done, then we can predict the future. How far can we go? So having come from a very humble background in a village in northern part of India, Uttar Pradesh, and coming to Delhi, had been and now sitting talking to you in phenomenal people out there. It's been a tremendous journey, and I would like to share part of my discussion is about my own personal life. How do we adapt to changes around us, right? If you allow me to share my screen, I have a presentation which I try to put together, and if you don't mind, you allow me to do that, that would be great.
Sure, sure. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so I'm good, right? So
Yep.
let's see. So screen, all right. So can you guys see something on the screen?
Yes, yes. You can just
All
do
right.
a full screen.
So can you see this?
Yes, absolutely.
And you know what? This slide, which you see, of course, I picked up from your creative, but I
Okay.
sent it to my graphic guy in my village.
Mhm.
In 10 minutes back, he produced and sent it back to me.
Very nice.
That's the speed of light of the collaboration which we are doing. It is the work which is being done globally these days, that you are trying to live the moment. You want to live in the present, right? So the digital world, and how do we cope up in the digital world? Many times we people ask me, what is that you have seen so far in your life, right? Coming from, there was a session by a spiritual guru, and he asked, what is the happiest moment of your life? And so I was just trying to figure it out, which was the happiest moment of your life, right? So was it that, uh, you left your village, came to better education, better cities, or you came to US, got married, have children, or you bought fancy cars and stuff like that, which should not be the way to measure your happiness. But I was trying to see what was that moment. And guess what? I found one, because throughout my life, I'm number five in my family. We are six brothers. I'm number five. Most of them are advocates. They are all senior advocate in Supreme Court and High Court in Delhi. So being number five, you know that when there is a scarcity of resources, so you tend to receive everything which has been used by somebody else. So the clothing to shoes to books to bags, you name it, everything was passed on to you. So there is a richness in that, right? But then you never got something which really meant for you. You know, I was 8 years old, I remember, and I gave my first print of my foot to my father. It was passed on to my father through my mother and my grandmother, and then I got my first pair of shoe. You know, believe me, I slept with those shoes below pillow under my pillow that night, and I was waiting to go to school next day. And that was the happiest moment. So coming from that background, humble background, to what I'm going to share with you, it's been quite a journey. you know so just to share with you, you have already known LinkedIn is the best way to connect with people. So if you were to connect with me after this thing, is the link with the best way, right, as I said. So this is something which Mr. Jain just talked about, the Eric Janet Outstanding Award and all that, right? But right after this, I felt there was something missing, something much beyond all this, what I have probably done. So, being an environmental engineer, I was always inspired by work of Abdul Kalam Saab. He was a huge promoter of environmental kind of a concerns or situations and issues, and Sundarlal Bahuguna Sahab. So I met both of them in at ONGC ONGC Academy 25th year anniversary. So I met both of them, and very interesting conversation, and that stuck to me in 2007. I think 2007 2008. That what is that I'm supposed to do to save the planet? you know so that's when I came up with this idea of bringing education on tablet and smartphone. So with Samsung, we worked together to bring India's first storefront for education. That was Samsung Smart Learning, so that you did not have to cut down the trees and things like that, and you could probably make it affordable education for the world. And but right after that, in 24, that was launched on Teachers Day, actually, on in September 2014. And right after that, I moved back to US, and I was part to this witness to this particular conversation. And it was at Fortune magazine forum, global forum, on November 2nd in 2015. And I'm sitting in the first row, and the gentleman from Fortune magazine asked Larry Page, why did you create Alphabet Inc? So, Dr. Maram, you must be thinking, and people on the call must be thinking, why there was a need for such a huge company to uh, create another company. So the answer to that question was that Google was never a mother. It was a product which became such a powerful value proposition to the people. But they, I mean, you're curious to come with something else in future. Where do you bring the invention, future inventions? So they needed a womb, they needed a mother. And that's the reason Alphabet Inc. was created. So you know that Alphabet Inc. was created a few years back, and Google is part of Alphabet Inc., which is such a huge organization, right? So I was inspired and mesmerized by Larry Page. I met his brother later on, and that particular place I also met our own Mr. Ramcharan. I'm sure you know Mr. Ramcharan. Everybody knows Mr. Ramcharan, and believe me, this gentleman, the whole world looks up to him for his capability on, especially on execution. And that has been my guru mantra myself. The discipline of getting things done, you know, and how do you get things done? And that's what I'm going to talk about. And that's what my entire presentation is all about, that in the context of getting things done, are we equipped with those capabilities? So the context, I have a 4C formula for those people who really want to see. The business context is the first C for me. Second is your competence. Third, your contribution. And fourth one is your compensation. But people focus on the compensation first, but they don't know whether they fit in the business context or not. Can they contribute to the current business scenarios? Or do they have the right skill set to do that? I think those are the questions to be asked today. So right after that conference, this had been on my LinkedIn profile for years now. What got you here won't get you there. And also the best way to predict your future is to create it. And by the way, the future creation, this was my slogan for Samsung Smart Learning in 2013. So best way to create future is to create it, and that was in 2013 and 2014. So 2013, 2014 was it was all about how do we predict future and how the future look like, but future would not look like or would not happen without you having the right skill set. So I think this is going to be, so the challenge which I see in the workplace or workforce or the workflows these days is that the skills which we have today, they are very short-lived. If you remember, earlier you could probably be a lawyer or practicing in one area, and you could probably live through the lifetime, and you could be very influential lawyer. So the law would be on few areas would be there. Today could be there are 80 odd expertise required in order for you to be a well-rounded kind of situation, right? So the workplace has changed completely. The labor market is tightening. What does it mean is that the world population is aging. If you look at it, I'm sure Corona would do its own magic now, because people are staying at home. So you could see the boom. There was a baby boom earlier. I'm sure there would be a baby boom after probably a year or so. You will start seeing the results of that as well. So I think we might have probably fixed that problem, that the world is aging. I was worried about India actually. For years I was worried, because India happens to be youngest nation, but in 20 odd years, what will happen to India? Because this entire population, which is a young population, would age tomorrow, for example, right? So where are we standing on this, right? So what would happen probably for this workforce is that, there would be a frequent career change for people. They are suggesting, the World Economic Forum has come out with a study that people would generally change 6 to 7 times their career actually in their lifetime. And by the way, out of those, only 2 of them don't know what those career look like. others don't even exist, right? So, and of course, with the current situation and the, it is bound to happen. This will happen. In fact, remote workforce is not today's situation. Believe me, 2007, I was speaking at Labor Department in Washington, D.C. And that's when somebody asked me, what is the future of global workforce? Why virtual teams? Why there's a need for virtual teams? And you know what? One of the gentlemen made a very one statement which really hurt me. That there was a gentleman said, Upendra, you come from India. I said, yeah, I come from India. So he said, you know, your country is cheap. I said, what happened? He said, they are taking all our jobs away from here. I said, sir, English is not my first language. English is my second language. You and I will go open the Webster dictionary together. The word which you just said, cheap, it's not cheap. It's called competitive. So I said, by the way, I traveled 45 miles to come here to speak here. By the way, I did not see a dinosaur on the street. If the reason for survival would have been the strength, dinosaur had the first right to be here. You got my point, right? It's about agility, agile workforce, agile workplace, adaptive workplaces. But what will make agile successful or adaptive or remote workforce successful? This would be built on, by the way, I'm going to talk about, or let me just this might be the right time. My daughter is, she is 20 years old, and my both kids, like my son is 22 and my daughter is 20. And the other day we were talking about role of left brain in life, role of right brain in life. And she was like, you know, I said something. So she said that my cognitive flexibility was very good when I was 17. And I never heard those kind of words when I was growing up, cognitive capabilities, right? And I said, what did you just said? She said, you know about left brain, right brain? I said, yeah, I kind of heard it long time back when I was trying to understand emotional intelligence. Because so whichever part of the brain which you are dealing with, that controls the opposite side of the body. So we tend to use our right side of body more probably. Suppose you have to write, you will pick up your pen, I will pick up my pen from the right hand. I will have to kick a ball, I will probably kick from the right side, right leg. So the left brain is controlling right side. It is because it has the logic built in. It does the rationalization. This does the sequencing. This does the all sorts of calculations. The how far you have to drive so that you don't hit the next car in front of you. All sorts of decisions are made by left brain. But the right brain really does the magic. That's where your emotions, your feelings, your intuition, and all soft things which really make you successful in your life, right? But we tend to ignore that. So if you look at most successful leaders in the world, you will find the right brain which controls the emotions and feelings, happens to be much more evolved and developed, right? So how do you remember? So I said, so I forget which one side is right brain or left brain. I said, so my daughter said, which side is the right brain or left brain? What does it mean? I said, where is your heart? She said, on the left side. I said, where does heart has feelings or intelligence? So she said, yeah, it's all about feelings. I said, so just remember, so right brain will control your heart or your feelings or your emotions. So when you talk about trust and relationships, I think these are soft skills which have to be the power skills for the future, to build the resilience, and then especially in tough times like this today, right? So what I would say that, these are the challenge, but the world is moving towards speed of light, deliver fast and responsibly, deliver agility, bring the innovation, especially disruption these days. Organizations are requiring for organizational adaptability, and of course, lead through complexities. So if you recall, world was pretty much predictive as we were growing up. We knew exactly what will future look like, what tomorrow is going to look like, but that's not the case today. The change is coming on to us very fast, and it is because you want to be aware about your surroundings, the context, because the hyper awareness is very, very high today. You know, we uh, we need to know what is happening around us, and because of that, everybody gets to know what's happening around us, and all of those are trying to drive the status quo. They are trying to bring the change. You know, so corporates are struggling to make the informed decisions, and then based on those decisions, they want to get things done faster, cheaper, deliver the business value, and through the business agility and adaptability. I think that is going to be the reason why people have to be probably thinking out of the box now. So I'm proposing a model where your brain can hold so much, and then too much of information could be cluttering, and then it inhibits us from making right decisions from a system thinking approach, right? So think system thinking, holistic thought process, pragmatic thought process, but you need to still develop your mastery. So how do you do, especially when there's so much information out there? So you would probably, I think, old age times, our guru shishya kind of culture might come back, where we would need a guru in our life who will handhold us, who will walk us through, who will make us perform. The coach does not do or teach what to do. They will only teach you how to do better, and only they will not answer any questions. You have to find your own questions, you find your own answers, right? And that's the role of the coach for tomorrow. So this is the model, unlearn. So unlearning would become very important part of our life, you know because what worked 20 years back, what works 50 years back, would not necessarily work tomorrow, today or tomorrow for sure. you know so unlearn is definitely going to be very important and part of the continuous learning. I thought once I learned some skill, this should be there with me for the rest of my life, but no, because the context is changing continuously. You need to be in alignment with the context, because if you are not, then you would be. So somebody, I used to use this example many times. When you are on the right path, you can only run. You can't stand on right path, because right path everybody wants to run. You would be run over if you're on the right path. Right path standing is dangerous. Right path, you have to just go with the flow, you go with the movement, right? So if you want to stand still, stay on the wrong path, nobody's going to disturb you. But on the right path, there's only one way to do it: run as fast as you can. you know and of course, you have to continuously reinforce your learning. So we are talking about various generations and stuff like that. My kids, as I said, my 20 years, my son, 22 years old, my daughter is 20 years old. Both of them were born here, but I have a privilege to take them to India for 10 years. When I took them to India, my son was struggling in education in India, and I was like shocked, because I thought that my son should be doing fairly well, or at least better than those kids back in India, but he was struggling. Guess what? He was living future. He was never in the classroom. He was sitting in the classroom, and one day he was writing an essay, and he was writing an essay on Mother Teresa, and he says to me, "Dad, I have a question for you. If Mother Teresa would have been a mother, would she become Mother Teresa?" I was shocked. 12-year-old kid questioning me so deep. And so I used to, so he was into photography, you know, and I'm glad the current bill which has come out, the policy which has come out, my family was living right from my birth time. Guess what? I've been teaching for more than 37 years now. People would look at me, how old are you? How could you teach for all these years? I said, my entire education, right from village to here, it's been all through my own money which I earned, right from my childhood. So how does this model work? So that's what I would like to share. that, so my son, I was kind of worried and concerned that he was not doing so well in the school. But guess what? When he came back to US, and he said, Dad, I don't want to go to college. And then I said, are you crazy? What are you talking about? And then he put up a business case at the age of 18, 17, I'm sorry. At the age of 17, he put up a business case why he should not go to college. Right? And I'm here talking to you about skilling, right? Because he was living a life of experiential learning, right? Experiential learning was something, and continuous micro learning is happening with every single child today. And that's the future. You learn, you apply, you learn, you apply, you learn, you apply. You don't put in a box for 5 years, 10 years, and then something miracle would come out, or something magical would come out. That's not possible. And by the time you come out anyways, you are irrelevant anyways. What's the point? So we are talking about various generations: millennial, generation Z, X, Y, Z, whatever. And you see that we had our own fair share of learning. The way it was available that time, the way it worked that time, but today it does not work that way anymore. So the performance in the context setting is important. Goal setting and alignment with the corporate world is very important. Continuous feedback, that's most important today. And you need to make sure that you have somebody who makes you accountable, because in the current circumstances, I think that is going to be missing. How do we hold accountability? Dr. Kiran Bedi was on our book launch actually the other day, and I asked her this question: Madam, in old days, uh, when kings would fight for their territories to safeguard their kingdom, the rishi munis would be their teachers, and they would be teaching them various tactics and art of fighting. Did they ever hand over the books? Was it book based, text based? What was it, right? And if that was so effective, where did we drop it? What happened to this? So it was all experiential learning. And she pointed out one thing very important. She said the day when we started outsourcing education, it means that we started our responsibility as parents, the society started deteriorating. And that's the result what we see today. And this has to be fixed. So so you need to look at somebody holding accountability, and this lies on the person who brings you in this world, and those are the parents. So the parenting has to be looked at, revisited back again. So you need to, but the children require a lot of different level of motivation, especially today's generation. See, so the matrix have to be kept in mind. What motivates children, what motivates workforce, it has to be kept in mind. Reward recognition is most important. You need to probably recognize that your child went to school today. You need to probably appreciate that act. We have come to that level. So anyways, so how do we go about upskilling? So most people say, 68% people say they prefer to learn at work. They say, but this is from LinkedIn, by the way, and 68% prefer to learn at work, and 58% people, more than half, they want to learn at their own pace. So they want their freedom of learning, right? And they want to learn. Almost 50%, 49% of the employees prefer to learn at the point of need, just in time when I need it, so I could use it. So, and I could perform better at that given point of time. So there's a situation. The solution is experiential learning in the flow model, actually. So there's a gentleman, you may want to check it out, this model by Josh Bunson. And Josh Bunson came out this model called a new learning tech market segment, where learning learning based platform, and then micro learning is going to become very, very powerful. And of course, this is part of LMS and content platform and adaptive learning and stuff like that. He's one of the most sought after person in the world when it comes to futuristic learning situation. But you need to also look at the model which was prescribed by David Cobb in 1986, I believe. He talks about that whatever we do, we must analyze or we must reflect back on and try to question that. Continuous improvement will come on from questioning what you just did. How can I do it better? And that's what probably Steve Jobs did. And with that, they could apply those practices to do reflect and apply. So this entire process had been part of the companies like Apple or Tesla or Amazon. They all apply flow-based model these days. So post COVID, a lot of people ask me this question: what is that is required? This is a perfect time, especially whatever happens in the world, we can take it in a positive manner or a negative manner. We could be crying about the situation, we are stuck at home. Trust me, and you need to believe me on this one. For last 1 year, I've been studying 8 to 10 hours a day, every day. And I got like 15 different certifications at the age of 51. And I'm continuously learning. So what worked for me 20 years back would not necessarily work today. And I'm sure what will work today would we also be unlearned tomorrow. And I have to be mentally ready for it. So some of the skills you may want to probably explore: personal development, leadership, project management, of course, had been and agile. There's more on the agility aspect of things I would talk about. Management has been always part of the curriculum. But what you need to do, everybody must learn data analytics or data science, I would say, because it is part of your brain, left brain. If you work on data, analyze data, you will probably remove a lot of chances of getting various uh, sorts of diseases down the road when you get older, of course, because a lot of people have the memory loss and stuff like that. I'm glad government of India came out of policy where sixth grade onward you are asked to code. I think that's a wonderful thing. So experiential learning could be there. Of course, the biggest challenge had been the education sector of the world, not for India, that it was only copy, you just mug it up and reproduce. It was all IQ based, right? How well you remember, but no emotional intelligence, no resilience kind of stuff, no adaptability was taught. That was the challenge. So what you need to do is, with the help of gamification, personalization, and emerging technologies, you can probably get people to get in the flow of learning. This is the ideal place. Imagine, let me explain this particular aspect. Suppose your skills are on this x-axis, right? And your challenge which you get in life is on y-axis, right? So suppose you don't have skill and you get challenge, and challenge keeps increasing. So you have, first of all, you are in apathy kind of stage, then it goes to worrisome, and it gets you anxiety level. But suppose you had parallelly your skill, you were enhancing your skills at the same time. So what you can probably get, you can get into this space. This is the ideal space to be in when you are in the flow, when you are in the zone. So being in the zone is important. Being in the flow is most important. And every single organization is becoming flow based. If there is no flow in my body, I'm dead. If there is no flow in a community, we are dead. There's no flow, and it is because of the flow we are being kept in our houses, and that's not the normal. So that's creating anxiety, a lot of pressure on the people, and a lot of depression, and a lot of anxiety will lead to a lot of challenges for people down the road. The current situation of corona would lead for people to different other challenges. So my recommendation would be, use this time to upgrade yourself, upskill yourself. And that's where I came up with this model. Actually, recently I was sitting in a 4O formula. It's called outlay leads to output, leads to outcome, leads to outlook. So I thought of, how do we do it? I said, well, the way we could do it, we need to uplift our motivation. We need to uplift yourself for a better cause, better purpose. So many times there's a concept called find your purpose of life. So if you keep thinking of finding a purpose of life becomes very difficult. It seems to be such a massive task, right? So I kind of changed that thought process. I said, okay, we will get there, we'll arrive there, but a little differently. Let's look at a different approach to this. Let's understand the money which we spend, the effort we spend. So perform the assessment. So I came up with a model called REAP, reap the benefit. What is REAP? REAP is nothing but this was talked about in Blue Ocean Strategy, that book by I think there's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy. So REAP means reduce your effort or your time on those activities which have started giving less value to you. Reduce your time. E for eliminate your effort on those task activities which have stopped giving you value. Then A for add new set of activities or initiatives which you have not tried so far. Add. And P for push. Push on those set of activities or initiatives which have produced better value to you. So REAP formula you do apply and you do pick, keep those things which are giving value. The rest of them you do unlearning to be competitive in the current context, business context in the landscape. Then initiate and engage and reinforcement from the people around you so that there's a hand holding, proper hand holding for facilitation. So this is nothing but uplift formula. U for unlearn, P for perform, L for learn, Y for you. Y is the focus, you is the focus. And F means your facilitate, T means transformation. So in the stage of transformation, coach plays a huge role after you unlearn. Coach plays the huge role where you do peer to peer or you partner with the industry or academia, but it has to be platform based because you have to always keep coming to your herd, your community. We call it COP, community of practice. Whichever practice which you are in, you need to be associated with that type of like-minded people because learning together is much more powerful. It's more engaging. So that's what you work on the capacity building. You get aligned to various projects and programs, you innovate, and that's what you impact the bottom line of the organization. And with that, you need to make the continuously learning as a way of life, and that will lead to continuous improvement, and you will get to your ikigai, find your purpose of life. So this is nothing but I have tried to raise your curiosity. Once you're curious, you will get to your purpose of life. So from a strategy to execution, you are able to get things done. So that is nothing but our own Ramcharan Sahab would say that strategy and execution, if there is a fine line in between those, you are bound to fail. So with these four O's, you are able to spend your money, do the investment, the outputs which you get, that will lead to outcome, the impact which you create, and that's how you will look at the future, how the future look like. So with this, I'm done with my presentation. Now I will leave the forum if you have any questions, and I'm sure there's a lot could be discussed in 30 or 35 minutes. This is what I thought of. Let me just share my views, and with that, I'm open for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Upender Giri. It was a wonderful presentation. To the people who are viewing across the world, Upender Giri and my first meeting happened way back, I think 2 years back in Varanasi, the holy place, a part of Pravasa Bharatiya Divas. So we had a great time interacting with him and sharing some ideas. And immediately, I think just a couple of months back before Corona, we met in his place in Silicon Valley in the month of Jan, I think this year, Jan.
Yes.
And again, we had a wonderful discussion on various topics and all. So it was a great presentation, Mr. Upender Giri, and thank you very much for sharing your valuable inputs. And I have my other friend, in fact, who also came to California. I was telling about him, Dr. G.K. Reddy, who is the chairman and managing director of India's #1 fitness company. He's also there in the webinar. I request Dr. Reddy to show his face and also on. So Upendra Giri is there. I think you missed meeting him during your visit to the Fairmount. So today he's there digitally in front of you. And Anshav is part of a Bringil. He's a founder. So he's also here. So Anshu, I think what we coined the digital future is exactly what given an overview about execution and what exactly needed today in the world. It's beautiful. So I think Anshu, you can take forward from here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hari. I think, I would not do that mistake again, Mr. Upendra Giri. I think, wonderfully explained, and if many of the topics which I was just going through your presentation, not many people can actually bring that under a couple of slides, because it's a vast subject of blended learning, mixed up gamification, your extreme reality kind of modules which you have spoken about, immersive technologies, adaptive learning, all those things bringing up in such nice slides is really, really an awesome work. So I must congratulate you on that. And that actually proves that you are still learning, and that is, your 51 certifications, right?
No, my
51
age is 51,
certifications.
but I got 15 certification last 10 months.
15. Okay. So I think I got confused with that. I thought it is 51. So yeah, so I think those certifications kinds of gives that perspective very clearly. And when we started our journey of Bringle Academy 4 years ago, we were actually just researching about that. And this unlearning, the relearning concept is what our focus was. And there was some data points which we have identified that 80% of employee turnover today happens because of the bad hiring decision. It means that the people who were hired in the places into the corporate jobs, they were actually hired wrongly, and that is the reason they're leaving. And which also proves to another point saying 80% of our corporate people, or the people who are doing jobs, are actually sitting in a wrong job roles. It's not that they do not have strengths, they do not have their own capabilities, but it is all about their strengths are not being utilized very properly. And that is where you were talking about knowing about their strengths, specifically on that, the right brain, the left brain concept.
You would be surprised to hear this. There were times when I was building my organization when I moved to India, and many times my HR department will get a lot of people for interviews, and they would selected good people, and they knew that for sure this guy is selected for sure. He did not join for a reason that it's not that we rejected him. The person rejected me many times. Reason being that when I start talking to them, they realize because I scratch on certain aspect of their life in such a manner that it brought them close to what they really should have been doing their life. So suppose many of them became entrepreneurs right after my interviews with them. When I'm talking to hiring them, they became entrepreneur next day. So out of my company, 35 CEOs came out. Out of 250, wow. I used to have I must have had about 50 odd employees, and altogether in 10 years time, and 500 odd people, 250 people worked to maximum at given point of time, and out of them 35 are CEOs today. And by the way, Dr. Hari Krishna Madam Saab would know, Sunil and Sujit are two of those two guys, right? They have started their own companies, So I think it's about if there is an inheritance or it is your purpose most people have no idea what is their purpose, why they are there in life, right? So suppose you remove the darkness from their life and you bring the light, you know, then you bring them close to reality, and that's where the magic happens.
Absolutely.
You know, so many times I could be very selfish that, okay, I would not like to show them what the future look like. Let me use them for my own use or for my own gain. That's what most people do, you know, because you have to run your businesses. You can't experiment on stuff like that. But I have been a guy who'd been, just imagine, uh, when I came to US, I just got married at the age of 22. I had no money to come to US, and of course go to school like Lehigh University. Lehigh is the place where Lee Iacocca and Henry Ford had their roots at Lehigh University. You know, the person who gave the automobile to the world comes from the same school. So every invention gives the byproduct of invention is a problem for the rest of the people to solve. You know, so what happened is, so when Henry Ford came out of this automobile concept, so when they gave the speed had to be controlled. You know, so whenever you try to go fast, right, you need to control the speed. How do you control the speed? You can't control the speed on the steel tire, the steel wheels, right? So what do? So you need to use the rubber, right? So, and rubber would again, you know, if you notice in US, uh, there has to be minimum the thicken depth in the groove required before you dispose it off. If it does not pass every year, you have to dispose of your car tire. So with this regulation, the whole America was flooded by the scrap tires. But before that, industrial revolution happened. So steel got manufactured. Bethlehem Steel is the one which got bought by Mr. Ellen Mittal. So my school was on Bethlehem Steel, right there on that campus. So when I came to US, I saw huge mountains of steel, slag from iron steel, and there's huge mountains of scrap tires. So one day I was on the road, I was driving about 75 miles an hour, and I saw the largest fire in my life that was about 2 miles long. And that was scrap tires, right? And those scrap tires, I could not see that what is happening here. So I slammed my brake, and then I smelled something coming from scrap tires. And that's what opened my eyes. I said, you know, not eyes what I see, the eyes behind that what I makes me think.
Yes.
And I said, you know what, carbon burning. So what is carbon on my road? That's carbon. Can we use that? And guess what? I submitted a proposal to National Science Foundation. Guess what? My school got $300,000 funding for the project to solve that problem. So I supported the professor's salaries, and 2 student undergrad were given to me to do the research. Master's degree, I could barely speak English, but I could solve a problem. And guess what? Scrap tire and iron slag are being used wherever you see in the roadside. There's a thick mat kind of thing,
Right.
where your car does not skid there, by the way.
Right.
You know, so, and you do see the stadium, you see the stadium, the running track, it's another invention, you know. So, and they 10 other different inventions came out of this problem, right?
Wow.
So always a invention will have a byproduct, and that byproduct is a problem for the future generations to solve. So corona has given us an opportunity, also a problem also. It would create a lot of opportunity. A lot of psychotherapists are required in the world. Please change your profession from IT to become a psychotherapist tomorrow. You know, it's happening already, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it's always about need is mother of invention, you know, but do we get to see the right need? That's the question. And are we aligned to solve the right problem, or are we equipped to solve the right problem? And that's where the skilling required.
Absolutely. See, I think skill is going to be the major crisis, and it is not about the skill sets, it is about the right skill sets. And
Absolutely.
unless we And I think the biggest challenge which happens with us, we never focus on what are our core strengths. And since childhood we've been told, go to school, get good grades, get good job, you'll be successful. And but never ever we think about what do we really want, what is our
Sure.
core competence, can we enhance on that rather than. And that is why you will find people going into a sales job while they're very good in technology, people going into finance while they're actually good in sales. I mean, they're actually, they will not be able to do anywhere good. And this is where the split or the realignment which is required in the industry. And when we filed the
Absolutely.
patent in 2017, that was the core idea from Pringle Academy, that how do you ensure that you identify the right core skill sets, convert that into a data analytics platform which can eventually tell you what kind of upskilling requirements do you have, and more holistically, not just about domain knowledge. Domain knowledge is just 10%. How do you apply that domain knowledge? How do you develop it and make it more better for others? And it changes with your role and levels of the roles. Then how do you place them? What do you need to become a good employee? What do you need to become a good employer? What do you need to become a good investor? What do you need to become a good businessman? All these aspects has to be understood and fit very clearly. Once you put in that, and you mentioned about data analytics, it's a very important requirement today. And unless you do all these parameters, millions of parameters, you do that, using your AI methodologies and then give them and make a best fit. It's a complete manual and complete unaligned process today. And this
So
requires a
lot
major
of lot
realignment.
of lot of people ask me that how do we learn data analytics and all that. I said your mom, your you would say okay, you're traveling, you will call your your grandmother, and you will say the clothes are hanging in the balcony. It's gonna rain. It's a cloud all over the place. She goes out and she looks and no, it's not gonna rain. I said, what are you talking about? It's gonna rain. Because all yellow clouds, beta. They don't rain. So what's she not doing data analytics? She has given the also
It's her experience which is converted into a data point which she has actually analyzed.
right. We cross the road, we make the child understand can he cross the road before the car comes very close to him and makes this a dangerous kind of situation. You know, so it's not rocket science. Nothing is rocket science. It's just that we become more aware. We start emphasizing. We start looking at things closely. I'm paying attention to minute details, and I'm using those observations for decision making. That's all.
Yeah, I think the new education policy, which was just approved by the central cabinet 2 days back, talks
Sure.
about uh, including the digital skills and all kind of skills which are required from the fifth standard itself. So I think hopefully in the next 10 years, we will see a lot of improvement in the education system of India. And whatever you are speaking about, from problem to opportunity, from creating ideas from the problems, that reminds me my first class in Indian School of Business, where my professor, I still remember Dr. Kabil Ramachandran, who is a professor of entrepreneurship. This is exactly 17 years back, which happened. Whatever problems we discussed in the classroom, like food is not available, people are not delivering, we don't have a cars to move, and getting a film ticket is difficult. All these become $1 billion ideas. Today, all these Swiggy, Ola, Uber, Flipkart, all these ideas are from the problems. So, as you rightly mentioned, I think the world is moving towards technology. I think what we see, the top 10 company performances, and also one of other area where you mentioned about the right brain, which reminds me my Novartis days, where we undergone a 1 week training program to identify the brain of customer. So there is a model called Norman brain model, where he divided the brain into the left top and the left below and the right top, and he given a color coding, the green, red, yellow, orange. So how to identify your customer brain, then you put forward your thoughts and selling proposition. So it's a wonderful, Dr. Bhupender Giri, again, recollecting all those memories, and definitely we will look forward, having, maybe after some time we are planning to have a one more physical kind of thing in a big way, with collaborating with a lot of organizations. So looking forward, your next visit to India will be, we will be utilizing that in organizing and reaching your ideas to larger people. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been a wonderful time with you guys, and in person becomes hugely difference. I remember, Bangalore had been one of the best session of my life had been when all police chief of India, they were put together in Karnataka police headquarters in Bangalore, and it was after Bombay blast to solve the terrorism problem of India. And I happen to be the youngest guy in the crowd, and I'm supposed to teach them how to transform Indian police. And when I was taking the attendance, there was this guy's Hemant Karkare name was there, and he was not there in the attendance. Can you believe this? Because he was shot dead, right? So the acceptance of knowledge content coming from young person had been a challenge also. That has been how the past has been, because it's the perception which you create over a period of time. So I had to break the barrier. And the session was supposed to be 45 minutes. That turned out to be 4-day conference, turned into 4-day conference. And guess what? 18 DPRs were created in my class. One of them is Dial 100 project, by the way, for the country. And Mr. Shri Kumar was leading that. Shri Kumar, the Director General of Police that time for Karnataka Police, who became the CVC of India, Central Vigilance Commissioner for the country. So sometimes you don't know where the solution is going to come. The need for facilitator, the need for mentors, need for coaches will grow like anything. The information which you can get it's on a fingertips. In micro learning is coming to you anyways. You don't have to even go out to get the information. It's being pushed on to you. Now you have to decide it is the right content for you and your children, what they want to get exposed to, right? So skilling is happening without we even knowing, but you need to allow the experimentation, which we were very not prone to that, because we were of the opinion, if I experiment, I will fail, and failing is a stigma. And that's the reason why the entrepreneurship was, we never invented a lot of good things out of India, despite of a lot of knowledge and wisdom. So knowledge and wisdom was never put to experiment. So what does experiment do? Oh, it will give two things. Either you pass or you fail. And then success is relative, and relatives come with success, by the way. So in the experimentation, there's a labeling called you failed or you passed, but failure itself is a passing to some level.
It is a stepping stone to success. You cannot reach to success without failing, and otherwise it's like a one-time success which you may not be able to repeat also.
People who invented this conferencing facilities, do you know how many times they would have failed to get to this level what we are doing right now? Thousands of times.
Absolutely. And they've evolved.
Yeah. Do you think Google was a perfect product when they delivered it? What we see today, Google? So perfection is never a thing. if perfection was something, then I would like to call myself perfect fool. Then you will say you are not a perfect fool because you realize that you are fool. So it means you're a perfect fool itself. So no such thing is perfect. I think experimentation is something which we should encourage. Fail. So learn, fail fast,
Fail
learn
differently.
faster.
I say that typically, fail fast, fail differently.
Yes. So I mean, differently means that previous mistake you don't want to make. So that's the
Absolutely.
learning. So
Absolutely.
fail
But
fast, learn faster. I mean, same
absolutely,
thing.
absolutely.
You know.
So
So please
it's
go.
very, very important because people generally feel that more we prepare for perfection, more we prepare ourselves, and more there are less there are chances for failure. But frankly speaking, if you wait for your experience for 1 year for implementation, you've lost a 1 year.
Absolutely.
If you wait for 1 month, you have wasted 1 month. If you do it daily, you've wasted only a day. At least you can work onto it, revive, and work on the next day with something else. Probably the result which you will be getting in 10 years, you probably will get in 10 days, if not.
Mr. Jain, I'm talking about totally different aspect of it. Something maybe context might be a little different.
Mhm.
When you see from your own eyes that I'm going to go this journey, but you travel so fast and you want to get a feedback,
Right.
open it for people so their input, because your eyes can only see so much. Let a lot of people's eyes see it. Are there otherwise earlier we were afraid that somebody will label me as a failed person, so I never showed my experimentation. I kept it to myself. So if you expose that for feedback based, so flow, feedback, and continuous learning, these are the formulas for success now. Future is all about flow, being in the zone, being with the zunoon and zone with the flow. You get into that, right? And then you keep open for feedback,
True.
right? And then continuous learning. If you got it, you will never have to go with the mindset that you are not relevant for a particular business context.
Very good, sir. I think we have overshooted our discussion. It's just a lovely discussion. I really didn't realize how the time has kind of passed away. But it was really, really great talking to you, Mr. Upendra Giri. Thank you for being there and so early in the morning, and taking our request and accepting our request to come on this show. And thanks, Dr. Hari, for inviting Mr. Upendra Giri for the same. And with this, I would, okay. So I think Sharmila is also here. Sharmila, if you have some few words for everybody and whatever your experience has been, and maybe Mr. Upendra Giri would be keen to know a little bit about you as well.
Before I bring, what's in the name? You know who said it?
Yeah.
Who said it?
I
Hmm?
don't remember, frankly.
Shakespeare said that. What's in the
Yeah,
name? And
what's in the name?
such a big guy said it. I remember. That's the reason. So
Yeah.
Sharmila is living. Sharmila is living her name, and that's why she is not visible.
Yeah.
So Sharmila is the
Shar-
co-founder and CEO of Bringle, and
yeah,
I think let her talk about her story a
sure.
bit.
We had a introduction, but okay. Sir, I am a survivor of encephalitis and a virus. I have a small 1 inch of my left brain that is dead. So at times my speech is not clear. You won't be able to understand. There is an issue, but well, where the intellect is concerned, I don't have an issue. I am a mathematician, statistician, and when you said something about the flow, to my mind, uh, I have the sign of infinity. everything tends to infinity. It never reaches infinity. So the perfection that we crave is there at some point till our eyes see. But beyond that is infinity. And for me as a mathematician, that infinity is uh, what holds good.
So Sharmila,
Let's try to reach that.
Sharmila, what a wonderful, it's a pleasure talking to you. Uh, you said you are a you are a hero, in my opinion.
Thank you.
And your, left brain, as I said, it has its own limitation. It's the right brain makes you so successful, and your right brain is so pure, and it is the emotions and feelings come very naturally. So never ever feel that you lack anything.
No,
It's just that
I
yeah,
don't.
yeah. So
I swim, I cycle, I
great,
uh, I,
excellent.
I have played cricket, football, volleyball, hockey. I'm a state I'm a state hockey player. So it's never been any issue. It's something
Great.
that inconveniences me sometimes. But
You
beyond that,
know,
no.
no, that's not inconvenient to you. That is somebody else's problem. You have to
Yeah,
just be
yeah,
honest to
exactly.
yourself, and that's
Honestly,
what I see. That's what I see. You
you're
know,
right.
yeah,
You're right.
So, but I think it's wonderful that you are part of this initiative, and you guys doing a wonderful job, and trying to give back to the community. This could, so people, there are different types of donations people make, so, or giving, not donation, it's giving. So I think Gyan Dan is the best Dan you can give, right?
That's
you know
right.
Absolutely.
so you are
Absolutely.
in that space. This is awesome, and I'm glad that I could be part of it, and contribute in my small bite, you know, and look forward to interact with you guys in future.
Sure, sir. Definitely, we will do that. And by the way, just want to add out here the new education policy which has been laid out. So Sharmila works with government, especially for the division person with disabilities and the education sector as well. And one of the the special points which has been added about a teachers training program is actually been shared by Sharmila to them, and it has been taken well accepted by the government into the policy. So that's how she kind of a little she works behind the scenes. She doesn't come in front, onto that, but she has been working a lot with them. So maybe
Great. You know what? My daughter, she developed here. Once she went through the entire process, that how can be useful for people at large. So she took as a minor sign languages, by the way, because in America all this is possible, right? So now she's so good at helping kids on the street and the stores and stuff like that, and even the politicians these days, because they have to communicate to all sorts of audience, right?
like
And she's so good at it, and she's not only great what she does as a normal person, but for those so not so lucky, she could be of help. So government of India is thinking in those sign languages and stuff like that. That's a wonderful thing. It's a part of this thing, and her contribution definitely would be hugely appreciated. If my side of things or my family or I could be of any help, let me know. We are always here to show how the Western world has adopted to all these best practices, and uh, how they had been able to excel at various things. So would be more than happy to share that experience.
I teach as well. I teach at Mumbai University, and my subject is me- me- media and disability communication. So
Wow.
uh, how do we make media accessible to people across um, ages, across disabilities, across um, any diversity that we have.
Sure.
And
So,
as far as the sign language goes, the Indian sign language needs two hands. The American sign language needs one hand, and I know I use my right hand for the sign language. That's the
awesome.
American sign language.
Lovely. Great.
Great, great,
So,
great. Thank you.
thank you so much. I think it's quite late out here in India, almost like 10 p.m. now. And really want to thank Shamila and Dr. Hari for being here at such a late hour. And of course, I can see Dr. G.K. Reddy and also be joining us at the late hour. Thanks, Mr. Upendra Giri, for accepting our request and coming so early in the morning. For you also, I know that you slept late and you woke up early only for this session. You prepared your presentation as well. Thank you so much for the same. And
Sure. No issues.
we really loved, enjoyed your session, and will definitely be reaching out back to you how we can help the society and create more value.
Great. Thank you so
Dr.
much.
G.K. Reddy, you want to ask anything from Giri? Giri is one of the advisor for Fortune 500 companies, and he trains, in fact, Indian Administrative Service IAS officers in India. He's kind of a very great leader living in Bay Area. So you want to ask anything? I think.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, I know. Listening to him, I know there is a he has read so many books, and then day in day out, and then I know there is so much knowledge. I'm just listening to him. There is so much knowledge. It is very inspiring. Well, I have a dream and vision. We have a company known as StayFit. It's a quarter century old. Now we have a vision and a purpose of taking that company to, as a vision of is a building healthy India. We want to help as many as people out, because that immunity system and then staying healthy and fit is a need of the world today. Healthy body needs healthy mind. So we wanted to reach more people. We have equipments and we also have a training classes, fitness academy. So how can we take it to the next level? So we would want to have some guidance, advice.
See, the biggest challenge is that the awareness, education has to be part of your entire service offering. So it will start educating people, number one. Who will listen to you? The person who is in trouble, not the person who is healthy, gay, and running around. We never believe in prevention. By the way, Dr. Train and I would have conversation about this topic. Why such a wealth of knowledge, still we suffer? What's the problem? So he is of the opinion that we never have a single bone of in our body of precaution or prevention mindset. We always react to situations. So you need to find those people who are reacting to the situation, because they were the first taker, right? So the alliances with the medical existing ecosystem today, how can you help them? They get better at it, because they will also start seeing you, looking at you as a competition, right? So the gaps which they have, can you average those gaps? And then consumers start connecting and start leveraging the capability which you are offering. And slowly your adoption goes like wildfire. And that's when you say, you know what, let me share a story. And the story will probably, we are going beyond time now. You can cut it and edit it, right?
No problem. No problem.
Yeah,
because here they see, this is the whole idea. So you ask me a question, I'm going to give you the answer, right? So just you can announce that this is over. Now people want to continue. This is what I do generally, right? People can hang out. When there's a physical place, what do? You don't shut the door and people say, go home, right? Now people are
Right,
going to
right.
hang out.
So,
So-
Sharmila, maybe you can just, we'll just say goodbye to the online world and we can have an offline discussion. So let's do that. Thank you everybody for being there, and we'll come back again with our next session very soon.